Um, Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today's guest is somebody special, somebody that I've known via the internet for quite some time, but never actually conversed with or met in person. And that's Matt Marinelli. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'd say special might be a little bit of an understatement, but I'll allow it.
Fair enough. So typically we have on coaches, or more recently we've kind of opened it up to other people. But usually there's been a relationship with Run It Once of some kind over that period of time, and I think that's obviously how I know you from. And I have kept up with your blog at times, but I went back and kind of started from the beginning today to kind of, I don't know, get myself up to speed on where you are. And man, that's like really cool. It's like, it's kind of like a throwback for me to like when I started in poker, 20 or so years ago, where you would like hit refresh on 2+2 to see the next post. And this, your blog kind of represents like an old school throwback, textual,
I
narrative
know
of your
it doesn't
journey
really
in
exist
poker.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know. There's something like nostalgic about it for me when I was reading it. It was bringing back memories of checking 2+2. So why don't we start with maybe not take us into when your blog began, like your start in poker, and then kind of how you decided to start your blog, and then everything that's gone on since that up until now.
yeah. I mean, because there was also an original blog.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. So I started playing poker professionally in around 2018 when I joined the CFP. It was pretty. Once I kind of figured it out and committed to poker, it kind of exploded. Where I just sort of moved up from I think 25 NL to 2K NL in about 1 year. Um, and so even when I was in that CFP, I had a little journal that was super popular in the CFP. It was called Poker Detox at the time. Um, and so I'm not really even sure what inspired me to start the first journal. I know that my coach Nick Howard was a very big coach on Run It Once at the time, and I think even if you look at the archives, he's probably one of the most popular coaches that you
For
guys
sure. I
had.
can I can attest to that.
So, yeah, most likely that probably would have been my biggest inspiration. Is Nick Howard had like some crazy big threads on Run It Once. So I just said, I don't know. I think maybe I had 100K in profit or 200K in profit at the time, and said I'll just make a post about getting to $1 million, and eventually did that. And then I decided, okay, I completed that goal, so now I'm done with this. and I guess a couple years later, I decided to try it again because people seemed to really like it. I didn't really think it had much of an impact, or I don't really know. Especially you can't see the views with
Yeah.
the setup. Um, but I don't know. I just got enough positive messages that I decided, you know what, I'll bring it back. Um, and so I guess that's the gist of the blog journey for Run It Once.
There's
I like what you said though, that it's the type of thing where I don't know, you click on it and it's something you actually might want to read, because I try to
yeah.
make sure there's as little filler as possible.
Yeah,
And
I like your writing style. Like I said, it's nostalgic. It's kind of quaint when when everybody's used to just TikTok and sending you off to the next if they're not hooked in the
yeah,
first
exactly,
point,
which is something I really dislike.
like 0.7 seconds, you're
Yeah.
gone. You're out of their mind. And for this, you like load it up on screen. You're like, okay, here we go. This is like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even like talking about myself that much. I try to, it's almost, I would want it to be like, it could almost be a book or something. You're just really
Yeah.
focusing on what someone might care about reading or also have to do with their life. So I'm
Um,
glad it's worked out so far.
yeah, for sure. Um, we have a lot of questions that were like, submitted by either my colleagues, me, but then we also had some that were written in. And so I'm going to kind of jump all over the place. So what jumped out to me was like, I want to get your thoughts on ignition, just in general, because that like,
Oh God,
that
that's
is like
just right off the
clearly,
bat. Yeah.
at least in your initial post, it was like, that jumps off the screen at you. Your results on ignition.
Yeah. So it depends with something like Ignition Poker. It's changed a ton over
Okay.
time.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
like, I mean, I mean, I think everyone that's in poker basically knows that plays at all
Yeah.
seriously. That Ignition Poker just isn't the site that it used to be. When I
Ain't
started out,
that the truth?
yeah, when I started out, that's what Nick Howard was like really putting me on. Like, all right, we're just gonna get these people into like these really soft games, and it was amazing where you just have it's like, all right, you only play 4 tables, there's no rake back, but you just play with these insane reg to fish ratios.
Hmm.
But those kind of went down a bit more and more over time. And now the player pulls about, maybe 50% bots. It's going to be more than that at high
Yeah.
stakes. It's hard to know because it's anonymous, but
Right.
we'll say more than 50% bots at high stakes. So, kind of hard to recommend to the general public. I mean, they don't really have security there.
Yeah.
And obviously, just my opinion, but and they haven't really
I share
responded
it.
they haven't responded to anything that the community has said about the bot situation. So, I just would suggest to just treat it like it's an app game. It's an app game that has no security or little to none. And if you think that's worth the risk to you, if you think that's worth the hassle, then obviously, go for it. But just yeah, I think people are pretty aware at this point of the ignition situation, so I'm not sure what um, more insight I could offer aside from be
Sure.
careful.
I've always wondered, like, especially as it relates to ignition, like if you can uncover collusion, um, where the positions at the table that are colluding. It's hard to overcome the shared cards aspect of it, but like I wonder, I'm not sophisticated enough to develop a strategy to exploit, some number of colluders, but I wonder if there is one where, you might call in a situation where you're hoping the one colluder takes an action that they
Yeah,
otherwise wouldn't.
there's some issues there. Like one issue is that you're not really going to be able to sustainably
Yeah,
exploit cheaters because, like, let's say even if you did, they're just going to change their strategy
yeah,
withdraw. Like part of being a professional and being able to do something for year after year is to establish an edge that you can do over and over and over again. And so if that's going to disappear pretty quickly,
yeah. What's the
so playing
point?
against cheaters. I guess the other part too is that the collusion part is really minimal with Ignition, as far as I'm aware at this point. I
Right.
mean, who knows what's even going on, but a lot of it is just straight up bots that play. They have all sorts of different bots in my opinion. Like they have different profiles of bots. Um, so yeah, you're not going to beat the GTO bot too easily.
I remember
Gosh.
playing, and I'm sure you have stories like this. I remember playing PLO. It was 1020 PLO on Ignition or Bovada, whatever, same thing. This was like maybe 10 years ago, maybe more. And there was a guy that would routinely sign on at roughly the same time every day, and so this was going on for like a week, 2 weeks, something like that. And so I made sure to be around when that was going on, because in one of the very first days, he had something like $55,000 on the table. Which, if you know Ignition, you can the cap buy-in is 2K. So that means somebody at the table rebought quite a few times, and they continued to get it in such that he could run his stack up to this size. And I remember I was pretty deep. I was probably like 30,000 deep, and he was something similar. And it was like he was 100% VPIP, so he raises earlier position to cut off, and I 3-bet the button with some aces combo, and then gets back to him. He four bets, I five bet. I think he calls, and the flop is like I want to say 5-5-4, and I had a five, and so he leads. I raise, he raises. We ended up getting it in, and he has 6-6-6-7.
Wow.
And I was like, no, please don't. Like, of all the hands to have, I won, but that was a wild one. So you can understand the importance of being at the table when when this guy was signing in.
I'm
But
surprised
that's
he had that. He got that deep. Like I'm surprised he. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get that.
that
Maybe
was
it's the
that was
PLO thing.
the highest I've ever seen. So um,
Even for you to get 30K deep, that's pretty surprising. I mean,
yeah, because it's easy to fall into that trap of like if somebody's raising every hand, then you're like, it throws you off your own game a little bit. Kind of like in tennis, if you're playing against somebody that moonballs or something, you kind of get into this mindset where you like moonball back or something, and I don't know.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
It and I think the other players at the table were doing similar things, and the average pot size was like $8,000 or something because everybody was essentially all in every hand. Because this guy was clearly, if he had six
Wow.
six six seven in a
It's
major,
harder in PLO. You can only raise so much at a
yeah,
time.
yeah, and then beyond that, you're only going to be like 60-40 or whatever.
I know.
So,
That's the funny part.
um, all right, are you like strictly NL or like 95% NL?
Yeah. This year actually, I started playing more PLO for the first time playing PLO.
And how's it going?
Yeah, I think it's easy. It's incredibly easy, and PLO players are terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, I'm only playing in pretty soft games. Like I'm not reg battling PLO because it's just not my main game.
yeah. And I don't know. I think in part that's due to like people that suck. If they're playing NL against somebody that's good, it's just like you have really no chance. It's like really really difficult.
Yeah, the main thing to understand is that like stakes almost don't even matter. The entire thing, like I wouldn't even play like a PLO, like 100 PLO reg battle. Like the entire thing is all about reg battling versus bum hunting because I mean I've played pretty it's pretty routine to play an NL 20K game that's softer than like a 25 NL game because the regs that play there are just not good. It's a categorical difference between someone that's like a career bum hunter and a career reg battler or does it at any kind of significant rate. So you can just kind of assume for PLO it's the same deal.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
fair.
because I had a lot of people that were friends like, how are you playing PLO like 10K or 20K with barely studying it? And it's just kind of you can fall back on just deductive reasoning and a lot of the things that have gotten you so far in No Limit Hold'em. Just
Yeah,
apply it to
that's
PLO.
fair. And I think the the parts where you might lack as a result of not having the experience of the other players, it's not like it's going to be substantial to the point where you're like getting cooked. Those hands don't happen frequently enough, or the spots don't occur frequently enough that you're getting cooked. Like if you're playing Galfond four tables at heads up, okay, fine. We're gonna
Well,
we're gonna find those
yeah, that's
spots.
what I'm avoiding. Yeah.
Yeah, but so long as you're avoiding that, I mean, you should be
Yeah,
at
if
least
you just kind of
okay.
look at the math of it, especially with ACR, they have really favorable rake structures. It's almost zero rake if you're playing nosebleeds on ACR for PLO. And let's say you have a VIP that maybe they're losing at 30 big blinds to 50 big blinds for 100. You know, you don't really have to clear that high of a bar against the other regs.
Yeah, I remember talking about this actually recently with like Tom or somebody else, but like uh, Z and Hack were Urine Danger and T Rex on full tilt a long time ago, and I remember talking to Hack about this, and he was like, he would see like Tom, Phil, and I don't know somebody else that was really good playing, and he was like, "Why do I need to play in this game? I'm just waiting for the people that suck to play. I I have no I have no reason to or need to like prove myself that I'm some excellent player or something. I can just I'm strictly just trying to increase the number in my balance.
Right.
And so the best way to accomplish that is to just wait and play against the people that are like worse. It'd be like if LeBron could just, just wait on the side of a basketball court and just be like, all right, I'll just play these guys.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, that's also the exact mentality that makes you a weaker player. But
Fair.
the problem is, like, the people that are, let's say you're reg battling, they're not doing it necessarily because they think it makes more money. That's the justification that comes in at the back. They just do it because they're obsessed with the game. You
Yeah.
do it because you love competition. You probably like, it depends where you're from. You probably played StarCraft or League of Legends. Like I played Yu-Gi-Oh trading cards when I was in middle school, and my dad would like
Yeah.
take me to like tournaments and stuff like that. I was one of those kids. But like everybody that is like a lot of people are like gamers in some way. If you played online specifically and came
Yeah,
up
you're
doing all
right.
that stuff, so I think people that play a lot of reg battles, you just do it because you're compelled to do it. And then
You're
when someone
right.
asks you why do you do this, and then you just confabulate an answer as to why
Yeah,
that
yeah, you
makes
have to
sense.
spit out something. But uh, yeah, I mean, it resonated with me when you said StarCraft. I've played a shit
First,
ton
you
of
nailed that right away. Yeah, I mean, we
I've played
just
a
kind of
shit
love to
ton of
compete.
StarCraft. And I used to love like playing people that would stomp me. Like there reaches a point when you're playing like I don't know the dudes in the Korean league where like that you not only do you have no chance, it's just like you can't even keep up. Where to the point where it's like makes sense for you to even join. But there are some people that would like routinely beat me, maybe like 9 out of 10 times, and I enjoyed playing them. Same goes for tennis for me. Like I have a lot of fun playing people that are just like significantly better than me. And if I finish like 6-1, 6-3 or so, something along those lines, it's like, okay, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and you get better as a part of pushing yourself. I mean, so I don't know how familiar you are with the online scene, but do you know who Prodigy is?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he would say like, "Oh, I'd play heads up against anyone. I intentionally play heads up against people that are better than me." And this was his like thought process along moving up in stakes. Now, this doesn't make sense. Like, you're playing against someone in a zero-sum game that's better than you.
yeah,
Like you're in that way. You're really playing the infinite game of
right.
like I'm thinking about this really long term. Like I want to get really far along. And the biggest opportunities to make insane amounts of money are when you can play the highest stakes, which I guess he's certainly done.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. There's always sharpening your tool set. We have a handful of questions that are like poker specific, so I want to get into them a little
Sure.
bit. You shared a story where you implemented a real three better fold strategy from any position in anonymous games, and it was very successful. How did you even arrive at that idea, and talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so that goes back to like the poker detox CFP days, and you know, I I would just, I mean, we would experiment with anything. That was all me, though, or that was a lot of me. I think maybe Nick, he may have suggested it, offhand of like an idea, like of many ideas that could
Sure.
have been spitballed. But I was crazy enough, "Oh, okay, whatever, I'll just implement that." And I mean, the thought process is pretty ridiculous, but it's just like, well, I think I'm better at poker than basically this player pool. So I'm just going to three bet at like, I was three betting like 30%. Um, and I'm just going to destroy everyone post flop, and that worked. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we weren't like it's not. This was like before pre-flop solvers where they were like very basic. I think we had like some basic sims, but we didn't run sims for three better fold. Um, and also was four betting like crazy. I mean, one of my favorite hand histories that I will still share. This is 2-5 zoom. Is me four betting like four deuce offsuit from the button, and somehow showing down and winning. Um, so, I mean, I was always very open to playing any strategy. I don't care if it seems like it makes sense or it follows the norms or traditions. If something is more profitable, then I guess I'm willing to take it to the extreme.
On the flip side, I don't know if you watched or used to watch Juan Pastor's videos on Run It Once.
I'm
He
familiar with him.
he implemented like a limp. I think it was 100% limp strategy. Not
Okay.
100% limp, but any hand that he was playing
Right, I understand.
would be a
Yeah.
limp. So I guess I don't know if you're doing something. Well, in an anonymous pool, it's hard for somebody to maybe to recognize that. But
Well, it's like in Zoom, it's another layer of it where you don't have the continuity from hand to hand.
yeah,
Um, so for him, it would have been different because he played a lot of 1020.
well, and a limp is more identifiable than a 100% three bet. I would say
Yeah, it has the benefit of people mistaking you for a recreational player on Ignition.
that's true too.
Um, so yeah.
Um, let's see. Um, have you done World Series, or do you
No,
have any desire to do
it's pretty
tournament or
funny.
anything of that
No,
nature?
I have no desire whatsoever, and it's one thing with all my poker buddies that just find this so bizarre. But I would actually rather go to Vegas and just I've hung out with people uh, in the poker community usually. Like if I'm in a CFP or like have my own poker training thing, we can do meetups and stuff like that. But no, I don't have any interest in playing in Vegas or playing at WSOP. And usually
Is
my
there a reason other than the reason where you think it's either more efficient with your time or more profitable to play elsewhere? Is there a separate reason why, or is that
that's the main reason. I mean, I tend to be someone that really likes to concentrate everything that I have on one thing and really focus on that. And playing online is hard enough. So even me mixing in any amount of PLO is unusual for me, but just seemed to make sense to try. But I just don't really have interest. And at this point, I've done it for so long, I've avoided it. I
yeah
mean, why start now?
yeah
It's almost hilarious. I mean, I think there was some guy on Twitter. I don't really go on there that much, but he just accused me of being a fake person, like
can
that was
AI
invented. I don't know. It's just like like this was all me. My existence was a ruse in his mind for someone to like promote me for coaching, which is pretty weird. I've coached quite a lot. I clearly exist. I think I do. Because this guy
well
doesn't. You have to
you
play the
think
World
therefore
Series.
you
It's like
do
impossible.
yeah
I'm like, well, I guess so.
that would be quite a long con if you were doing this in an effort to I don't know drum up a coaching
Out
business.
of like crazy Twitter, that was probably my favorite tweet.
I like that. So on Run It Once, we're doing Heads Up Week right now, and you're primarily six max. But do you table start? How much of a impact or how much heads up are you playing typically?
Um, I mean, I play a respectable amount of heads up each year. I'm not table starting like year round. It's kind of difficult, especially like the online poker ecosystem with high stakes. In a lot of ways, actively encourages you to bum hunt. And I could just even give you an example. Let's say you're playing 25-50 heads up, and you have two tables against like a really good reg. You're going to be locked into that, really focusing quite a bit on that game. And so let's say a recreational player pops in at like 10-20, 15-30, 50-100. All the other people, they could snap onto that table. And so you're so focused on this one thing that there's going to be games. You either have 50 tables that you're heads up sitting yourself, or you just kind of accept that you're going to miss games because you're so locked in playing against this one guy. Not to mention you're seeing so many flops and making so many decisions heads up
Yeah,
that it can be hard if you have a lot of six max or different sites, different things going on. It's not like you're playing Poker Stars and you just open up 500 Zoom, or you even just have one site that you have to worry about.
yeah,
Everybody multi sites, and so because it's just like the first person that sits gets the seat, and they don't have any kind of merit based way of seating players. It's just going to tire most people out to just sit there and play heads up. And if you're playing heads up against a really strong regular, your odds are your edge is not going to be super high.
right.
So it's like it's almost the worst thing you can do. Like it's just playing against the toughest competition, using all of your attention and energy on this one thing where you're seeing tons
And
of flops and taking
yeah,
tons of decisions, and to do that year after year after year. That's why, like I say, I do it in spurts. So it might add up to be 20,000 hands of heads up a year or something, but I'm not
not
just
certainly not nothing.
consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I did one of these with Gus recently, and just to evidence or to prove your point of what you're saying, he can report that playing heads up in different game formats against different players at the highest stakes did not ultimately go well for him.
Yeah. Well, for Isildur, it went well for a little bit, and
Yeah,
then it was a little
went downhill.
bit of a slide.
Yeah, and then playing, triple draw against the triple draw robot and 08 against the 08 genius and whatever. No limit single
Yeah.
draw against the single draw genius.
See, now you understand why I'm saying I like to specialize.
Yes. Yeah, you are the NL genius. Um, so Nuno, one of our coaches that does heads up, submitted a question, and he said this is lumped in with the heads up play. That heads up is the purest form of poker, and he says that learning heads up can strongly benefit your understanding of poker as a whole, no matter which game you play. What do you think about this?
I mean, heads up is great. I've always enjoyed playing heads up. Um, I I think that the people that are going to succeed in poker are just going to succeed. I don't think
Yeah.
necessarily like I saying it's the purest form of poker um, sounds like a soundbite. I like the sound of it. It's pretty cool, and I like that if you're playing against another reg, there's no bum hunting aspect. So it's sort of like purist in the sense of like a game of wits,
Yeah.
of relatively equally skilled players, battling it out. Um, but in some sense, poker, you could argue, is just one gigantic IQ test. And so
Yep.
people that are really good at one thing are, more likely to be really good at this other thing.
What do
So
you
it's
think
more
of
about committing yourself.
What do you think of this? I've asked a lot of people, and particularly ones that, well, everybody specializes to some extent, but I've asked this to a lot of people that do you think that there are certain variations of the game or game types that resonate more with certain people such that they are better at that type than they would be at another type if they spent the exact same amount of time studying it? And just to give you an example, when I asked Phil this, he said he does think he's better at PLO than he would be if the same amount of time was spent on NL, as an example.
It seems pretty hard to say. I think people might have different preferences. There could be aspects to it, like the life of someone that plays MTTs is different than someone that plays PLO
Sure,
cash.
sure.
There could be some temperamental things. It's really impossible to say. Like if it's like saying, do you think someone could be really good at social studies, but not good at science? Like clearly, like you could be better at one thing. Um, but with my statement before, I'm saying I also think it's pretty generalizable. Like it's if you're really good at one thing, you'd also be very likely to be very good at
Yeah,
another
yeah,
thing as well. So I think I'd mainly focus on you know like the difference between things that are really fundamentally different, like between playing live cash and
yeah.
like online or MTT. Like for me, playing NL to PLO, I really don't think there would be a major difference. If I started off playing PLO, I'm sure I'd be in a similar position.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be itching to play Magnus Carlsen at like Catan or like backgammon or something like that. I don't think
Yeah,
he's going to be like a complete fish.
didn't he play like fantasy like football like it was like for like soccer for Americans, but fantasy football for them, and like he was like the number one player in that
Oh,
for a
yeah,
season.
okay. I
Like,
was
how do you
hoping it turned
even
out like that.
casually do that?
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the type that's just going to be like, okay, or I'm going to play Go and then just get demolished by like some third grader. Um, okay, back to your blog a little bit. What motivated you to start documenting your journey publicly on Run It Once? I know you mentioned that you obviously started concurrently with your play and in the staking agreement, but it takes like some intestinal fortitude to keep up a blog.
Yeah, that's true. Most of them, like 99.9% of them, will not last very long,
Yep.
right? I mean,
Yep.
um, I guess there's probably a lot of tangential reasons. I mean, some of it is I went to school for film actually and was
Yeah,
going
we
to
have
be a
some questions
director.
about that too. So
Oh, really? That's cool.
yeah,
Um, and so there is a side to me that is creative and probably has some, like, I had to completely table in order to pursue poker. So there's probably some kind of self-expression
yeah,
aspect to this whole thing. I mean, when I was an intern, I I worked in a movie production company essentially and would just sit there and read scripts all day and like write notes for the network, I don't know, executives. So just spent a lot of time reading and writing about what I was reading about. And so I guess this is somewhat an aspect of that. And I do think it's a nice avenue to give back. It's something that I mentioned in the blog is something to give back to the community in some capacity to try to have an impact in some small way and doing it in a way that wouldn't majorly tilt me. Like I don't want to do anything with Twitter. I don't look at it anymore really, or any different social media. Even like 2+2 to me is like an offshoot of poker Twitter. I just don't want to deal with it.
yeah,
So with like Run It Once, I don't have people like heckling me or flaming me or saying
yeah,
all this
yeah,
crazy stuff. So I don't, because if I had to deal with that, then it just wouldn't really be worth the trouble of doing
yeah,
it. And so I kind of like the format of a blog, especially over like making tweets, because I like the permanence of it. Just like the idea that someone could just come along, look at this whole thing from beginning to end from a top player, take what they think is interesting, and be better as a result of it.
yeah. I mean, that's like, I don't know, a movie in a nutshell, more or less. So it's like it's no surprise that you arrive at that. Um, so my colleague Andy had a lot of questions about the movie making aspect of
Oh
this.
wow.
So basically, if you didn't find poker, what would you be doing like now? Assuming that it's movie related, what aspect of the movie making process would you have been in?
Yeah, I'm curious why he asked if he has some interest in film or anything like that, but maybe it's
Maybe.
just a different angle because no one has really asked me about it. I assume that I would be directing, and because that's what I went to school for, that's what I was pursuing, and I live in Los Angeles, and that you know that's why because this was initially the career that I wanted to pursue. I was directing music videos to some. That was like the coolest thing that I was able to do was directing music videos, but they were not big time things really. So the way that I was mainly making money was like through wedding videography, which is like so it's like a pretty standard thing. You go to school, you want to do something super fun and creative, and
But you got to pay
you
the
want to do all this
bill.
stuff. Yeah, and then you graduate, and you're like, oh yeah, that's like a one in a million thing, and it's going to take me 10 years of like
Right.
sacrificing to even have a shot at doing it. Whereas like wedding videos, you can just start making hourly like right off the bat. and um, yeah, so basically, what decided me to go into playing poker anyway was like I was sort of at a crossroads where, um, I remember my wife, she was my girlfriend. I'm like, all right, I'm dating this girl. Again, things are serious. It's getting to that point in where you're in your mid 20s and you're like, all right, I kind of have to be a real adult now. And so I have to pick
So
the road
naturally, you
here.
pick playing poker.
Yeah, because I found Nick Howard's thing on Twitch, I think it was, or something like that. And he was like, showing like, oh, you can make a lot of money playing poker. And so when I was looking at the film side of things, I'm like, well, the best way for me to make money now is to like do wedding videos. And it's not that exciting. It's not what I wanted to
Yeah,
do with my life. And with poker, it seemed like there was more of a possibility of making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas when, I was doing wedding videos, when I was starting out, I was an assistant to other guys that maybe were a bit older. They were maybe like in their late 30s, early 40s, and they seemed miserable. So this was like what not to do in a way. So I think I just decided to
well,
take a shot at the poker thing.
you might have gotten lucky by not you know conversing with a similar group of poker players that probably also seemed miserable at
Yeah, That's like I'm aware of it, but the thing is, like, it's not like I said, "All right, I'm just gonna play poker
yeah,
and like throw call." Like, I was doing both, and I mean that's the crazy thing to like. Most of the time that I told you, like, maybe this was before we started, but I went from 25 NL to 2K NL in 1 year. Most of that I was working as a wedding videographer and doing these different commercial projects on the side. So at that time in my life, I was working like an insane amount, of hours, but could be pretty inspirational because I know most people like when they want to try to make it in poker and be a professional, they have some other job that they have to attend to.
Did you have
Um,
to like divorce your, or like, I don't know, sequester your brain from, let's say you went on like an 11K downswing and now you have to go to work and potentially pocket like, $600 or something, whatever it ended up being for that evening.
I never had any issue with it because I was just so passionate about what I was pursuing. I mean, when I first started playing poker, in my mind, I was an all-star. That's the way that I approached it. That's how I whatever carried myself. So it didn't matter that I was playing micro stakes or whatever. I told my wife that, or my girlfriend at the time, that I was going to be the best player that Poker Detox ever had, which happened. So I definitely kind of had that sort of, even with like with music videos, I told told my wife like, yeah, like I want to direct music videos for Justin Timberlake and Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift. Like, remember this was a long time ago. This was who would have been the premier music videos, and so I'm just a very intrinsically motivated and ambitious person.
How do you look back on your experience with a coaching staple? Do you think you can get where you were without it, or do you think how much of a role did that play? Do you think presumably you gave up some portion of your earnings as a result of that? Do you think it was worth it?
Well, for me, for sure, because I don't think I would have succeeded without it. I mean, the main benefit was being around. Like, Nick could have chosen any strategy. It wasn't the strategy. Most of the strategy he was giving was wrong. Like, to be honest with, like, this was so long ago, he couldn't have known that. But as it turned out, a lot of the things were just guesses that happened to be wrong. But it was just being around other people that had an expectation of being successful, of knowing what it takes to be a professional. These are the sort of things, like I wasn't around the 40 something guy that hated poker. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't who I was gravitating. I was toward people that are like, okay, so your expectation is you're going to win 10 BB per 100 and you're going to move up in stakes. And that matched up pretty well with me because by the end of that contract, like the contract ended at 510. You weren't even supposed to play 1020. I had to like go in and tell him like, no, I want to play 1020. We have to like change the stipulations of this and come up with this custom thing. He's like, all right, well, if that's what you want to do.
Um, a little bit more, poker specific, but how do you sort of mentally frame like 100K downswing so that it doesn't, impact your decision making the following day?
Wow. Okay. So 100K in one night,
Sure.
or
Or let's say a week or something like that.
so just like some big number, some
Yeah.
big shocking number that.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, well, first of all, half the battle is going to come from like all of the work that you put into having a good structure ahead of time, so you're not like taking absurd shots. Like I have everything pretty well thought out, so I know exactly how many buy-ins and how much I'm shot taking, and if I need to sell action, I do that. So I'm not really gonna necessarily lose like an insane amount in that short period of time. But even if it, I don't know, even if it does, um, maybe that's just part of one of the skills of being a professional poker player is just constantly, staying objective. And I guess one of my, uh, just maybe it's good fortune or whatever, is just having a lot of confidence. Like, oh, I'll just make it back. Um, Especially like sometimes with the higher stakes, it's hard. You kind of know in the end like you're going to be winning because if there's recreational players at the table and the rake is not that high, you it's more just you've been kind of running bad thing. Um, I guess it could be different with reg battles where you don't have the clear edge, but
Do you have any, I wouldn't say interest, but like, was there any part of you that had gambling, outside gambling leaks along the way? Whether that be,
no, it's like I have zero interest in it outside of poker.
really
It's pretty I mean for the most part.
like
Um,
other than like a passing interest or intrigue in something like, I don't know, sports betting or something. Not like you're going to go broke doing it, but just
uh,
like an
yeah,
interest in it.
like there's things that are interesting to me. Like I can see like this whole trend with prediction markets that's that's coming along and is like I don't know the prediction markets in the U.S. are somehow more legal than like some of the poker options you can play, which is absurd.
Yeah.
But I don't really dabble too much in that because, like I said, I want to focus on one thing. Poker's hard enough, so
Yeah. Um, we have a few that were submitted, so I want to get to those. When you're in a hand, do you have a standardized thought process or checklist, or do you rely on experience and recognition on the spots based on years of study?
yeah, I have everything pretty much figured out. All the standard spots ahead of time. Um, so that's it's kind of both. I mean, it's years of study to
Sure.
develop a whole system, but I'm a very systematic player. Everyone's going to be different. So I will know what I'm going to do basically on the flop, on the turn, even on the river, and on most situations, I kind of premeditate all my sizings. I'm really big into deliberate practice of just focusing on your specific weaknesses and iteratively getting better piece by piece. Um,
How often do you find yourself in a situation where you're like, no clue what to do?
almost never.
That's scary for an opponent to hear, I suppose.
Well, because also keep in mind you said no clue what to do. Like,
Okay,
because
fair
I
enough.
mean,
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have. It's just like degrees of confidence. Like for most things, I'm gonna have a high level of confidence in, and then um, the things where I guess would be most exploitable would be on the river, where it's so
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to be balanced at. But I don't really feel like I don't know what to do or don't understand where my range is or what anything like that.
Sure. And I guess I don't know. It's been a while since since I played NL, you know, as my main game online. But it was like, it's easy to get into a routine. There's not too many players that are doing things that are like astronomically different from everybody else. So it's not like you're going to get the 6x opening size or like, you know, I don't know.
Astronomically different. Yeah, I mean, I definitely will play every player different. Like in my mind, everyone's totally different, and so you can play a different style. Usually, if you listen to like guys that are playing high stakes at the highest level, they'll tell you like if there's five other players at the table, you have five different ways you're going to calibrate your strategy, depending on the opponent. Um, just something to keep in mind.
Um, okay, thoughts on just the general process of sharing your process. Has it made you ever feel like uncomfortable or exposed?
No, no. I mean, it's not gonna. It doesn't. I think I maybe even commented on it in the blog itself, where someone asked a similar question. But realistically speaking, so first of all, there's different ways I could try to answer it. Like in a literal sense, no, I don't think it has a major impact. Even Linus, like he had someone make a full you know strategy pack about how to beat Linus or
Yeah.
whatever, and had like his hands and like this whole detailed thing. Linus is still like the number one like player of all time.
It's,
Like had
it's
no
funny.
impact.
It's funny you bring that up because um, I've been the person that's like oftentimes trying to get people to make videos for Run It Once. And one of the objections, this was more common maybe like 10 years ago or so, was like, I have this, I don't want to give away all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Galfon's made 4,500 videos over his career, and he's doing okay at poker. And like Kevin Rabichow, same thing, and I don't know, on and on and on. All these people are still doing, okay in their poker matchups. So I suppose there's an odd bird out there that could watch every video and then plug it in and do all sorts of stuff. But even then, I suspect your opponent that is might be one step ahead or something.
Well, if I'm like, so that's true, but even answering it from a different perspective, like it just doesn't seem like the right way to approach life or your career. I want to approach my life like everything in my reality is working for me. Like I want to believe that I live in a friendly universe, not, a dangerous universe. And so it's just like your basic orientation towards life itself is thinking that things are going to work out for you. The people that are afraid some that someone's going to like take their strategies and figure
Yeah,
all this stuff
like
out,
their essence or something. I don't know.
they probably suck. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but like they probably suck at poker. They're probably really bad. Like you're cowering over this like one little thing. And it's
Yeah, I always knew that it was not going to work out. Like in the first 3 minutes of talking to somebody about the potential of making training videos, when they started talking about not wanting to reveal a strategy or how many minutes the video had to be, I was like, ugh, this is probably,
even the language had to be,
yes, that
just little things.
routine. It would be like mostly euros. Like how many minutes does video have to be?
Yeah, but see, these are the things. Like when I first started working at Poker Detox, when I said number one, I was like an all-star. That's how I didn't say that to them, but that's how I was treating it. But number two, I just treated it like it was my company. So I was like telling the COO or whatever, like I was giving him ideas on like a weekly basis that were not solicited about. So like it could come off super annoying, but I think it was helpful. And I'm just like giving him ideas about he implemented them, so I know they were helpful for the most part. And
Yeah, go ahead.
took a really proactive role in the company itself. And so I think it's like there's definitely a relationship between the type of people that will be successful, not just in playing the game, but in business that are thinking in this sort of pro-social, like grow the pie type of way, not
Yeah,
thinking how do I do the minimum,
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. I agree. Um, what is your favorite Avril Lavigne song?
Can you? I think I actually have one of the albums back there. I don't know if
I
you
see
can
the
see
I see
that.
the Blink one on the top
Yeah,
right, but I can't make out the others.
yeah. There's the Blink one. Yeah, I have a Taylor Swift one there for my wife because it reminds me of her. Avril Lavigne. I like she has. So I'm pretty sure this is true that she's the original writer of Breakaway that Kelly Clarkson performed and became sort of famous. She didn't become famous for Breakaway, but I like Avril Lavigne's like rendition that I
I like
found
her
on like
song with
Spotify or something.
Mark Hoppus.
Yeah, that I think that was one of the newer ones, right? Like
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. I can't remember
Um,
exactly what it is, but I know they
I
did
don't
one
know.
with
I can't remember either. My kids
Young
love
and Dumb or
it.
something.
Um, your hobbies away from the table.
Man, I don't know. It's like it's something that's so binary where I spend so much time playing poker that it's like, whew, ready to relax. And so like it's to me it's like just being independent and enjoying my life with my wife in Los Angeles, so we can go out and do whatever whatever we want or go on some kind of
We touched on this a little bit already, but I'm curious. It seems like pretty much everybody that I've talked to, I guess it takes either one form or another, but it's either sports or video games. And people went hard on either, especially as a kid. Was that the
yeah.
case for you?
Well, yeah, I already told you I played Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? And my
Yeah,
dad like took some people, maybe it's Magic the Gathering, I don't know. I also played, or at least went to like MLG tournaments. I don't know if you know what that is. Major
yeah.
League Gaming, like so they would have had all sorts of games, from like Call of Duty to Super Smash Brothers, and I played Halo 3. Um, and so I definitely competed in everything I've done in my life. I've competed.
I've told this story before, but it was with like Dylan Lindy, who played like Tekken professionally or something for a little while. So I'll tell it again. But I was playing. It must have been like Mortal Kombat 2 or something like that, and against my friend, and I was picking Cyrax, and I basically had this, essentially what amounted to be an unstoppable combo where I would go short bomb, long bomb, and then the green net thing. And we played probably like 55 matches, and I won all 55. And then he was like, "All right, I'm not playing you again if you pick Cyrax." And I was like, "All right, fine." So I picked Shang Tsung, and then the moment the game started, Shang Tsung has the ability to morph into any character, and I just morphed into Cyrax, and he just takes the controller and
Oh my
launches
god.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems standard by all parties. I gotta
Yeah,
say, yeah,
yeah.
you got to. I mean,
I
the
don't know
fact that
why
he
it
was
was
even
so
willing
hard.
to play 55 times, you
Yes,
think he should learn after a while. I mean, I
yeah,
say play against better players, but there's a limit.
yeah, and hitting the finishing move or the fatalities, the babalities, all that stuff. All right, I want to get to Andy's question, like all of Andy's questions
Oh
because
my
they're so
gosh.
good.
Okay.
Um, you seem like an extremely calm person, but everyone gets tilted by something. What tilts you off at the poker table and off the poker table?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'd say honestly though, like I'm not easily tilted. That's one of the better features I have is very stable. Um, I you know, what could tilt me at the poker table to begin with? To be honest, I'm not going to have an interesting one on this. I think I'm going to be pretty hardcore and like, you know what you see is what you get. Pretty
Yeah,
mellow about it.
fair enough. Off the table.
Off the table. Don't get me started. I don't really have anything.
It's that I didn't suspect that you were going to have like a on the table, nothing, off the table. I blow my lid at the anything that goes wrong.
I mean, listen, can I just say LA traffic and we just leave it at that? I mean,
Sure,
yeah.
sure. That is
It's not even
certainly,
directed at anyone in particular, any particular driver. It's just the ecosystem.
yeah. Just sitting in traffic. Um, there's a couple more. All right, poker can be very solitary. What role? I mean, you've already kind of talked about this. Did the community play in your growth?
Yeah, I mean, so it was pretty pivotal, but I definitely strongly suggest that people be proactive in kind of building their community. Because even like, so I joined the CFP, and this was so many years ago, but that didn't need to be some big thing for me. I took an active role in reaching out and adding and building to the community. Most CFPs are not like that. Most CFPs, people stay in their islands. They're not really going to interact that much with each other because poker's a zero-sum game. So you don't have any incentive to offer other people something of value. So a lot of the time, it's like you're a team in the same way that people staying in the same hotel are like a team. It's
Yeah,
not really.
that's an interesting analogy. I
Yeah,
like
well,
it.
to be honest, I stole it from The Office, but
Oh,
it
okay.
works. And so, like, even if you look at someone like me, I'm posting on Run It Once, I'm sharing all these things, I'm taking the time to write it all out, and I'm putting something out there of value, and there's no guarantee I'm going to get anything back. But I also have a bit of faith that when you put things of value out there, that other smart people will tend to notice that, and will want to like work with you or interact with you in some way. It's part of why I'm here right now talking to you is because I wrote this blog, and so I'd suggest people to really emphasize building your own community, contributing something of value to other people without needing to have your arm twisted, stuff along those lines.
Do you, I mean, do you see a difference or is there a motivational difference for you between playing live versus online? Other than like, oh, this game live is 2550 and the online one is 510, so I can do better live, so I will do that. Is there any other factor that goes into your calculation?
I'm sure there's a lot of it that's just like preference and comfort. It probably goes back whenever we had some conversation about you ask a reg battler why do they do something and they come up with some answer.
Yeah,
To
you
me
can
it's
come
like
up
it
with it.
just doesn't interest me. It just it's never interested me. And poker, it really suits me. Just like the inner gamer in me that would like even when I was a little kid would just want to sit there and play Super Mario 64 and you know not be bothered too much. I kind of just enjoy being able to play poker from my home and haven't really. That's why I'm like, I'll go out and do other stuff, fun stuff that isn't poker or gambling related with my wife or my friends in LA. It doesn't need to be. I'll leave outside for fun, basically.
When can we expect your first Run It Once video to come out?
Any time. I don't know, TBD. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that.
That was a loaded question, I suppose.
Yeah, I think most good business relationships begin with putting someone on the spot
Yes,
live.
yes,
And
yes, nailed it. Um, there was one. Oh, we'll end on this because it was a quote from one of your recent posts where you said, "This game cannot keep the good ones down." Can you give us a bit more on how you treat variance and how it changed you over time?
yeah, you can't keep the good ones down. So let's say the question of like how do you deal with a major downswing is you just have to think about in terms of I'm playing the infinite game here. I'm not playing this one thing where I'm just losing right now. You it's having long-term faith in your ability and your capacity to win, and keeping that kind of as like a North Star, because it can be so easy to lose confidence. Um, let's say it's like a big downswing over a longer period of time as well. Usually that's when it's worse. When it's a big downswing in a short period of time, usually something explosively unlikely happened where it's when it becomes like this, I guess if you're doing it for months or like a year, like this monotonous grind that I'm sure we're all like aware of.
What's
Um,
the longest one that you've had to go through?
um, so I haven't my I haven't really. It's might be embarrassing to say in a way. Like, I haven't really had like a ton of super long downswings, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, I'll put it this way: especially the ignition poker days, where
Yeah,
it's hard to have huge downswings if you're winning at like 10 BBs.
yeah.
But like, I mean, I've told the story before, but one of the toughest ones is when I moved up to 1020. I kept losing, and this was after always winning like the whole way up, and I lost like $20,000 in my first shot, and then going into makeup and dropping down to 510. And you could give up at that point, but I'm like, all right, immediately, the first available moment, I'm gonna take a shot again, lose again, and not only did I lose, I was annihilated. Like, it wasn't even competitive. I lost about $52,000 in like 10,000 hands or something. So that's 20. So what is that? 26 negative 26 BB or
A lot.
something.
Yeah.
And
Especially
so
for a site that was giving you like intercessional downswings, not even like over,
and so that was tough because it was also very near the beginning of my career, and it's like, well, I guess I'm in some makeup now and have been in it for a little bit, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But um, for whatever reason, I was like, okay, at the first available moment, I'm just going to keep coming back because I just had this sense that I knew what my goal was, to be the number one player on their thing or whatever, and to make all this money. So it was just, I never really even considered not playing 1020, to be honest with you. So I just eventually I took another shot, and then the next shot landed because I won like 100K in 1 month.
fair.
So
Didn't work that sense. Um,
in the end, you can't keep the good ones down, but
yes, the quote comes back. Matt, that was great. I really appreciate it. I feel like we could do this all day. I'm sure we will have to do this again. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody else, stay tuned for our guest next month. We will send out an email with that. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Emil, for helping me put this together. Matt, talk.